let's talk about draft day. Like, how did that happen? How did it, from the championship game to now, what happened in between that middle stage that led up to you getting drafted by the Orlando Guardians?
We doing everything they talk about. You know I'm everything a boss about. Not putting work and gotta toss them out. I'm really biting, they just barking out. I'm really riding, they just parking now. His street, what to talk about. See the big H when I'm...
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Base Coverage, presented to you by, of course, our partners over at Knoah Teamwear. I'm your host, Jamal Clay, and today I got a special one for you. I'm bringing in Mr. Justin Rogers, former defensive back from the Hamburg Sea Devils, but now newly drafted to the XFL for the Orlando Guardians. I wanted to reach out, talking about his experience and his little draft day experience going into the XFL and his new endeavors. So I wanted to chop it up with him a little bit. So we're going to get him coming on shortly, right after this quick word from our partners over at Knoah Teamwear. Welcome back, everyone. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to continue to subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment, and let's talk some ball. I like the feedback I've been getting, chopping it up with you guys. But my next guest, man, he's a legend out here in the ELF world. He's been with us since year one. He's a top DB, also top returner in the league. This guy ended last year with 37 tackles and 5 interceptions. He's one of a few or a handful of guys that have been able to play in the championship twice. And you know what? He's off to bigger and better things, and we appreciate his time here in the ELF again to cover him. So I'd like to welcome you, Mr. Roger that himself, Justin Rogers. So, Justin, what's going on, brother? How you doing, man?
I'm good. How you doing? It's good to see you again.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Hey, lots happened. Some things have changed, but, I kind of wanted to chop it up with you a little bit. Obviously, recently just drafted into the XFL. So, how's that feel so far, man?
It's exciting. Like I said, I joined the ELF kind of just trying to extend my football career, and not many people knew about the ELF at the time, it being so new, and nobody knew the level of competition and if it would work for Americans if they were trying to continue playing their career in the States. So at the time, it was kind of just, I would say, just going out on a limb and just continuing to play football while I figured things out. So, and fortunately, it kind of just kept my career alive, and like moving forward, I progressed, became a better professional athlete, and, obviously getting another opportunity at the next level makes me feel good. So I'm excited.
Most definitely. And let's expand on that a little bit, because I think one thing that that people should be aware of, obviously as a former player in Europe, a lot of, I can speak as an American and, having this mindset, but a lot of Americans go to Europe to, not knowing what they're getting themselves to, but just knowing that they can play ball, they can get film, and not knowing what the potential of it getting to the next level is. Right. Obviously, 2 years ago, you joined the ELF when this is just an expansion franchise that started during COVID, right?
Yeah.
Nobody really knew, what they were getting themselves into. On top of that, you're playing international. You're playing for a team that's hasn't been formed since the NFL Europe days, but you didn't really know what you was getting yourself into. 2 years later, that same team is one of the most decorated teams in the ELF, playing in 2 championship games, probably has the best record win percentage-wise, played for one of the best defenses in the league. So, you took a leap of faith, and it all turned out, obviously, leading to this point, we're getting drafted into the XFL. So, talk a little bit about, let's start from the beginning there. Talk a little bit about, what were your thoughts or expectations going into the ELF, and did you think or know, or did you even want more after NFL Europe, or after playing ball in Europe?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wanted to extend my career and get an opportunity to play in the States again. But initially, my thought on it wasn't really that it was possible. I knew some people that played in the GFL and that played in a few different leagues in Europe.
Yeah.
And the thought behind it was kind of just like, I mean, I believe what it was is Americans believe that they going out there to get good film to help them be put in position, but I'm not sure it was taken as seriously as the ELF has been in the ELF film and the professionality of it. So initially I thought it was kind of just like yeah, I wanted to keep playing and get film, but I'm not sure necessarily where it would lead me. And I believe again at the time, no, I kind of was just going to play. Plus, for me in particular, I knew traveling was something that would be an advantage for me, you know, at least to add to my resume to any degree. So, yeah.
Well, most definitely. And what I would say is that, like, as we're starting from the beginning and, setting expectations, you didn't really know what you were getting yourself into and what this league could become. And obviously it's become something that's surpassed multiple leagues, in Europe. What was the potential that you saw in the league, or the potential you saw in, signing with, the Sea Devils? Obviously after year one, you saw what your team was and, how the league was going, and you were able to sign for another season. But in the beginning, like, did you have the vision that this league could be what it was, or maybe this league could provide some type of jumpstart into your career now that you're leading into the XFL?
Yeah, I think Coach Azume got quite the pitch, and I think he didn't necessarily pitch it to me, but the way it's pitched in general is just, I think the unity part of it, and
Yeah,
the football umbrella kind of just understands the importance of football being able to be played internationally, but at the same time together. So I know there's been a World Bowl, and I know there's a GFL, and I know there's Poland, I know there's all these leagues and there's all these good teams, but they never really got a chance to play. And I believe one of the issues was, or yeah, one of the arguments is that the level of competition isn't very good. But it's actually not because the lack of athletes necessarily. It's more because the lack of opportunities for teams to play against each other. Because there are some damn good football players in all of these
absolutely.
countries. And I just believe they weren't connected, and they didn't get an opportunity or a platform to like play against each other.
Yeah,
So with the ELF combining countries, and the countries were playing against each other, so Poland being in the league was a big deal because they've been the best team in Poland, and Vienna and
the
Swark,
Raiders.
the best
Yeah,
team in Vienna, they get a chance to play against the best teams in the German football league. So it's kind of just like an opportunity for everybody to play ball and put football together, you know. And I think that's the beauty of the pitch, again, like the unity part of it, and everybody getting a chance to play ball and some damn good football. So I think that's the pitch that sold at least a lot of the people that are football focused. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And then as far as like advancing career, again, I'm not sure. I would say I thought about it to any degree, but to me it was kind of just like I just took a leap of faith. It was in hopes, but I try not to look personally. I try not to look too far ahead of myself, because it's so much that can happen in this life.
absolutely.
It's not up to me. I'm a God-fearing man, so I understand that these are never my plans or never my doings. I kind of just try to handle what's in front of me at a time. So I told myself I would take this leap of faith. I wanted to keep playing ball, and God gave me that opportunity. So I took the first opportunity that I got, and that was, the Hamburg Sea Devils. Unfortunately, he walked me into a great situation, like you said. So decorated. We were such a
Yeah.
talented team. We played in 2 championships. We lost them, but like you said, we played some really good football. I think we've been one of the best teams, and one of the teams that's been able to carry the league and push the league and prove that Europe can have good ball.
Yeah, and one thing about the ELF, before I dive into this next question is, competitors want to play at the highest level. They want to play the best week in, week out. And I think that's what the ELF is, working to establish and has established to a certain degree, versus, obviously with some other leagues where a lot of maybe 2 or 3 teams are going to dominate the league. Right. This one, it's wide open, and they're just continue to build and build and build as they're adding 6 more teams. So that's one thing I think people have to take away from the league, is that, like, yeah, it's different, right? But you're combining some of the best talent, and they're playing each other, which is going to make the product better. So, and you mentioned it. Actually, I mentioned it, but you mentioned it too. So the championship games, obviously your first year, you played in the first ELF championship game ever. Frankfurt came down to the wire, even like the last play or two, but it was definitely something that was a great game to watch. Going into year 2, you guys make it back there playing against the Vienna team. Now let's reflect on that game a little bit. Obviously it didn't go, the way you wanted to, or the way anybody expected, but, talk a little bit about your 2 experiences, I guess, playing in a championship game, and like, would you have done anything different personally? What did you learn from this game? So talk a little bit about those, or reflect on those experiences.
So my first year, I kind of was just like, I was kind of just along for the ride, and not
Yeah.
like, I mean, obviously I made some big plays and I was a big part of, the production of the team and stuff, and that's great. But I would say, just for overall, it was my first time being in Europe, so I just didn't really know anything. I was just going out and doing my thing, which was playing ball. And we came up short, and the lesson of that is kind of just like, that's football for you. Like, you kind of got to capitalize on the opportunities, and especially in close games and games that are competitive, like, you have to take every advantage you can. If you get an opportunity to slam the door on a team, you do it. So
Yeah.
that was kind of like the theme of that game for us on our end. For Frankfurt, it was a damn good fight. It was just like, that's how you go. The team that wants to win will win, and that's kind of what happens in competitive games like that. And it came down to who wanted it more, and they went out there and took it. So, kudos to them. And then as far as the second game, it's kind of a similar thing. I think they had a lot of momentum earlier, and it was rocking in there. It was super loud in there. I know the stadium wasn't full, but like, it was super loud in there when they were making plays, and they had a good game plan and they executed. Like, they did a good job handling pressure, and they didn't really just let like us overbear them. Like, they just didn't let, or particularly the defense, they just didn't let the name and the defense just come and just, they stuck to their game plan and played the game that they wanted to play versus us making them, play what we wanted them to
Most
do.
definitely.
Yeah, they did a good job. And I think where I was trying to go with the point about the first year, about me kind of just being along the ride, my second year, I kind of understood that, like, me being good doesn't necessarily matter. Like, I could go out here and necessarily, like, I can have 4 interceptions, or I can go out here and my guy won't catch a single pass, but it can have no outcome in the game. Like, in the first game, for example, I'm not sure I got a single target. Like, it got thrown my way one time in that championship game, so I almost had no effect in the game.
Yeah.
So the only effect that you can have, and what I learned about being an American here in Europe, is like, you have to make the guys around you better. Like,
Yeah.
it's all right. Like, you'll kind of even out no matter how much better you are than the other American, or you may be. You'll even out if you don't bring guys with you. So it's more about how many guys you can have around you, and the team morale, and being a leader and being able to bring guys up with you to your level of play. So my second year, I believe that's more what I understood. Like, it, not that it doesn't matter, but like, me doing my job is like, I'm probably gonna do my job most of the time.
Yeah.
But I need all 10 around me to handle their job, and that's what football is about. So, again, we came up short. Kudos to Vienna. They had a good game plan. They came out and executed. So, kudos to them for that. But
Yeah, and I like what you said, because I think that's I think imports, we forget that. Like, yeah, we're brought in here to, like, we got a little to expectation with American import. We know football, we know the ins and outs,
which is tough. Yeah.
Yeah, but you also got to make the guy, like, you got to help the guys, and make the guys around you, catch up to the same level.
Exactly.
And a team that does that overall is going to have, the better team, and help develop those guys as well. I think that gets overshadowed a little bit, or some importers maybe forget that mindset. Like, yeah, you're coming in to do your job, but they also want you to help and develop these guys too. That you're playing with as well. So
For sure. Real quick, but I mean, I just wanted to piggyback off that real quick. But like, I think for me, that's particularly what I was a little more proud of my second year. Like, looking back on my ELF career, like, it won't, the numbers, I'm not necessarily, not that I'm not proud of them at all, but they mean very little to me, considering like the growth that I took as a leader going into my second year. Like, for me, I'm like, my first year I had 5 interceptions, which is cool. I had all those punt return yards, which is cool. My second year, I probably got, in more games, I probably got less targets, the same amount of interceptions, but I believe the effect that I had on the secondary was far, far bigger than any of the plays that I actually made on defense. And again, which is why I'm going to always argue the Sea Devil defense that year is probably going to be one of the best defenses the ELF.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
the impact is definitely as important too. And you went on to mention that as well. So we fast forward a little bit. Obviously, we talked about the ELF, and now you're in a position where you're playing, in the XFL again, an expansion league, or the new version of it. If you're looking back on the ELF, do you feel like this league has garnered some, respect from scouts, coaches in other leagues, or particularly leagues in America?
Oh, I'm not particularly sure because I think it's still a bit early. Like
Yeah.
I think it's still a bit early. Again, we dominated record wise, and it's like again with better leagues, you want good competition. So if the
Mhm.
competition is even, then we all playing, and we kind of dominated in Frankfurt the first year, and then Vienna kind of dominated this year along with us.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like right now, it's not. I think the records and the teams and a lot of players aren't allocated correctly. So it doesn't show in the league, and the records just make it look like we're so much better. But it's kind of just like the players are kind of scattered around everywhere, right? Was what the issue is right now. So I'm not entirely sure is it has like a bunch of weight, like people have watched my film or watch ELF film and they're just like, oh, okay, well, we know from that we know you can for sure play in the XFL
Yeah.
or another league in America. Like I'm not sure that's how it works, but I will say it's gained a step up from the GFL, and I believe it's again from the you can see the level of competitive, just the competition level, just a little, it's
Yeah.
at least a little step up right now. Again, I think it'll take some leaps eventually, but it's a little step up from the GFL. So I do think the ELF has kind of earned this respect as a legit league, and like when I was trying out for some of these teams, people actually recognized who I was. I think I wore like one of our like shirts or something like that. And
Yeah.
somebody was like, "Hey, like you were in Hamburg?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like I didn't let nobody know what it was. And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Bro, what number were you?" I watched a lot of games. I was like, "I was number 23." He was like, "Yeah, bro, you Justin Rogers." Like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, "Oh, that's." So it's definitely caught along, and a lot of people do know about it. Like I was a bit impressed.
That's dope. That's dope. Let's yeah, let's talk about the XFL now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about draft day. Like, how did that happen? How did from the championship game to now? What happened in between that middle stage that led up to you getting drafted by the Orlando Guardians?
So I've actually been in contact with the coaches quite a bit. They've seen my film, and I kind of have been talking to them from around around like they've seen some of the playoff games, and they've seen some of it because again these like football guys are football guys globally is what I've learned. Like
Yeah,
it's a lot of people again that watch the ELF, that watch CFL. So many people that are dedicated.
football guys watch football. They don't really
Football
care
guys
about
watch
where it's at.
football, which is so cool. And I've learned that people don't necessarily treat it as like the European league anymore, or I don't think people see it. I think they see it as when the leagues are played. So like the NFL is played, obviously, and then there's spring leagues and then there's fall leagues. So there's like leagues in so many different places that you can get an opportunity for people to watch ball. So yeah, anyway, they've been watching for quite a bit, and I've been in contact with them, and they saw my film from last year, along with some of the plays that I made this year. And yeah, I was invited to go have a workout down there in Orlando. I was invited to a private workout. I did another combine that was in like San Diego, and a few opportunities from there have came. So I kind of just been in contact with them, and then at the tryout, everything looked good, and they were just like, we want to get you, but it obviously comes down to numbers.
Yeah,
With that kind of situation, it always does. I mean, the XFL again is probably gonna have I want to say it's going to be a 53-man roster, but like maybe 58 on a team or maybe 60 on a team plus practice squad. So
yeah, post practice squad. Yeah,
it's a limited amount of spots, and you can only take a certain amount of defensive backs here and there, blah, blah, blah. So they liked me, and they told me, depending on the numbers, we'll get you when we can, if we can. And fortunately, they were able to get me the second day in the open pickup. So
that's dope, man. What was the call like?
It was kind of just a quick call. It was early, like it was a lot earlier than like the me. I think everybody was ready day one, and the media was out day one, so
Yeah,
like, everybody was all over those picks. But like the day two pick, he had kind of called me like maybe hours before before it got announced, because I believe they announced all of the open draft picks like way later in the day, like maybe like 11 or 1 when it was all done. Like it was all
gotcha.
set. I think only the league amongst themselves knew they were drafting, but like the media wasn't like following when it was actually getting done. So yeah, he just gave me the call. And he was just letting me know, we've selected you, and it was a good feeling considering at some point I took a leap of faith and I didn't know where my career was gonna go. So just getting another opportunity to prove myself and go earn a spot in another expansion league is pretty cool, and being able to play in the States would be awesome. So
Most
I'm
definitely.
looking
And
forward to it.
before we wrap this up, I just want to reiterate that 2 years ago you took a leap of faith on the ELF. This was literally an expansion league started during COVID with 8 teams. It's grown to going into year 3 with 18 now. Hopefully, the one day get to 24. You've made your mark, and you talked about you made your impact, not just in the league, but with your teammates in Hamburg, and probably the one of the most decorated franchises in the league. Your hard work has paid off and has led you to this opportunity. Getting drafted into the XFL, playing for the Orlando Guardians. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if we see you back in the ELF, we see you in the NFL, whatever. But what I would say is you joining a list of alumni. I'm going to read off here, and sorry if I forget any names, but Anthony Mafungai, receiver for Galaxy in the CFL. We got Keanu Ebakes, O-line. You played with him. Now he's in the CFL. We got Marlo Sean Franklin, another one, Hamburg. Played with him. He had opportunity in the CFL. Malcolm Washington going to the USFL. Marcel Dabo going to the NFL. Brandon Brooks, cornerback, going to the USFL. Cavante Turpin now on the Cowboys. And now we got Justin Rogers joining the alumni group that have played and made an impact in the ELF, going to play in a bigger league, but also advancing your career for the good. With that being said, again, I'm not saying goodbye or anything, but as you reflect on your experience in the ELF, what are some of your I don't want to say final words, but what are some of your thoughts as you reflect on the ELF and possibly where the ELF is going as well?
Man, I thought a lot about that, and I guess I did have to say my goodbye to Hamburg on Instagram publicly, and it was a lot again for me in particular. I'm not sure. So because I believe in the league and I believe in the expansion, I believe in the football will get better, and I believe in football in the European scene. I do think it will be taken seriously, and it will be well respected around the world as a respectable football league. I'm not sure the experience for the Americans will be the same because, again, it was like I took a leap of faith I wasn't out there going for money necessarily, or I wasn't going out there for film that was going to get me back somewhere. Again, that was kind of like the hope, but it wasn't insured. And so my experience was completely different. So I went out there with the intent, or I went out there understanding that my football career may not continue because of what I'm doing here. Like it may do practically nothing for my career in the States. So I went out there, just embracing all of the experiences. And I think when it's not professional like that, you just spend more time trying to make your time worth it, like make the time away.
Make the most out of that experience.
You're trying to make the most out of your experience. So all of my, adventures and all of the stuff that I learned about being in a different country, practicing German. My German is still awful, but practicing German and getting to different countries when I can, and just building that relationship from somebody who's building relationships with local guys that are from the teams and like the local community. I think that's something that I hope doesn't leave the American import spot moving forward. But and I hope I believe in the league, so I believe it won't be the same. But I just hope we try to retain in that. And any Americans that want to come, please come open-minded and looking for that and making the most out of the experience, and not just football. Because again, I love football. We all love football. Football is why we on the call. But at the end of the day, I think I've become so much of a better human being and a man. Again, going across the world and seeing different cultures and understanding different people, and just speaking with different people. All these experiences I think are so important. So for A's, I think come out here and want to play ball and want to work and do your job, but also keep your eyes open for the even bigger prize. I think is being a good person, et cetera, et cetera. And I also just want to thank the ELF for giving me a platform, and I'm sure for some of the guys they could say the same. Like a guy like me, I've always believed in my talents, and I knew I was a good football player. And after I came out 2019, so there wasn't a lot of camp NFL opportunities that year because of the whole COVID scene. So I would say for me, the ELF was literally a situation where I went and got film and was able to be exposed, and people could see my game and become Justin Rogers fans, and they could see all of my capabilities and who I am as a person. I think so. I practically almost have a fan base or people that are behind me entirely because of the ELF. So I want to thank the ELF for that and giving me a place to place to call home, and I'm always gonna move forward like with the ELF tag. Like I think one of the things that separates me from a lot of the guys that were in the draft pool and that have been drafted is like I'm from the ELF again. I'm on that list, and it made me super proud that that ELF writers got a chance to just, hey, that's a ELF guy. And I also knew that nobody knew that I was in the pool, and I knew I had a chance of getting drafted. So I was really hoping I got drafted. So people be like, oh, like we had no idea he was in the pool. So yeah, like I'm just super proud to have the ELF tag and the Hamburg tag. And I just want to say again, thank you to everybody for that. And I'm always gonna carry that. Like again, we don't know what the future holds, but everywhere I go as a person in general, I'm gonna carry Hamburg. But especially as a football player, I'm going to always carry like the ELF and Hamburg, and I'm always going to be pushing that and telling everybody about my experiences. So again, thank you.
Most definitely. Hey, I mean, you couldn't have said it better, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate, your time and obviously being in talk to you. And, this is not the end. Obviously we'll chop it up more again, but, I'm happy for you. I know a lot of, not only Hamburg, but a lot of the ELF community is happy for you to see you advance your career and, everything you've done the past few years. So, hey, congrats, man. Definitely, go kill it, go do your thing, go ball, represent the DB community.
Yes, sir.
But I appreciate you. And then again, this won't be the last time we chop it up, man.
Nobody.